Hey, what's going on? What's up, everybody? Well, this is an interesting story because as news reports are stating that the Mississippi River, which is the second largest and longest river in the continental United States, is hitting record low water levels as due to the drought that's been going on this year is causing the Mississippi River to dry up and dry up real fast. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to read this article to you guys pertaining to the matter. And the link to this article is located in the video description box underneath. So let me share the screen. Let me share the screen. Hold on. Bear with me. All right. Okay. This is from YaleClimateConnections.org. All right. YaleClimateConnections.org, which is a website from a group that's from Yale University. Let me zoom in a little bit, make it a little bigger. All right. So the title says Mississippi River record low water levels ease some, but long-term forecast is dry. Hurricanes from Hurricane Rosalind will help Mississippi River water levels this week, but the coming La Nina winter is likely to bring long-term below average precipitation over the river's watershed. The article was written by two people, Jeff Masters and Bob Henson, and it was written on October 24th, 2022. And the article begins by stating this: the shrunken Mississippi River, flowing at its lowest rate on record along much of a 270-mile stretch, will receive a minor short-term bump in water levels this week from Hurricane Rosalind's rains. However, with another La Nina winter in the cards, the long-term outlook for the river is unfortunately very dry. So here's a yeah, that's true. That's true, Sigma American Arcana. Yeah, America is changing in more ways than one. That's true. What's going on with you, by the way? I'll continue reading the article. Hold on, let me play this video. Yeah, this is somebody from Twitter who took his camera phone and recorded the dryness in the Mississippi River. Let me show you that. That's crazy. This all used to be water right here. That's crazy. Yeah, but I'll continue reading. Oh, this person on Twitter took a picture of a sunken ship that was underneath the Mississippi River, but because the Mississippi River dried up, he's able, he was able just to see the whole sunken ship, and this person wrote, Denise Gutzmer, wrote, in downtown Baton Rouge, the low waters of the Mississippi River are revealing the remnants of a shipwreck. The Brook Hill was built in Indiana in 1896 and sank during a storm on September 29th, 1915, when logs crashed into it. So this is this ship that was built in Indiana that was underneath the Mississippi River, but being that the Mississippi River is drying up, people are able to see this ship. That's crazy. What's up? What's going on? Tampa, what's up? Tampa says America is done for. You know, Kevin Kelly, he's shocked. He says, wow. Yeah, what's up? What's up, Tampa? What's up, Kevin Kelly? Kevin Kelly said this can't be real. Yeah, I wish that's what I thought at first, but hey, it is what it is. But let me continue reading this article. Okay. It says expensive, widespread, and intense drought affecting the US. Intense, widespread drought conditions across much of the U.S. this year have cost more than $9 billion and are causing havoc to shipping on the mighty Mississippi River, which in 3 states has hit its lowest levels on record. The low water levels come at an extremely inopportune time during the peak of the U.S. harvest season, when barges carrying grain provide the predominant transportation method to carry America's bounty. Understand this, that fall or autumn, whichever one you want to call it, the fall season, the autumn season, that's the harvesting season, when farmers throughout the spring and summertime, they work so hard on growing the crop, and during the fall, that's when those crops grow to its maximum during the year, which is the harvest, right? And the Mississippi River, in the United States, have been one of the main sources of America's farmers to transport their crops. But being that the Mississippi River is drying up and running out of water, right? Transportate that form of transportation, which was relied on to ship a large portion of America's crops, is now at a jam, which means now people got to use an alternate way to transport these crops, which is going to be more expensive, which 9 times out of 10 can raise the price of these crops and other raw materials in order for these companies that's shipping these products can make profit and at the same time still be able to afford alternate use of transportation. Thus, is going to have an effect on the economy. Now, previously, what I read before, it states that there's a hurricane called Hurricane Rosalind, right, which happened in the Pacific side of the continent, is going to bring a little bit more water to the Mississippi River, but that's only for a short amount of time. But long term, experts are predicting that the Mississippi River is going to get drier and drier and drier, especially now we're entering this winter season called La Nina. Now, La Nina, which is opposite from El Nino, and I'm sure some of you probably heard of El Nino. La Nina is a situation where the water, especially from the Pacific Ocean, becomes colder as usual. And when the water is as colder as usual, that has an effect on the weather and the weather patterns. I mean, usually during La Nina in the wintertime, it's more it brings colder winters, but wetter storms, which to me, which to me, I question that, okay, if La Nina brings a colder winter and more wet storms during the wintertime, that should bring more water to the Mississippi River. But experts, according to this article, are stating that the La Nina phenomenon is going to bring even more drought to the Mississippi River, which to me, that's crazy. I find that to be crazy. What up, Joe W? What's up? What's up? Okay, okay, we got all my supporters here. Well, not all, but we got a good number of people here listening. Yeah, but I'll continue reading. Uh, the low water levels come at an extremely inopportune time during the peak of the U.S. harvest season, when barges carrying grain provide the predominant transportation method to carry America's bounty. Barges going downriver carry about 60% of U.S. grain exports to the world. Uh, uh, Going upriver, Mississippi River barges, excuse me, I'll reread that. Mississippi River barges transport petrochemicals, fertilizers, and raw materials essential for the functioning of U.S. industry and agriculture, making the Mississippi River the lifeblood of the American economy. If barge traffic on the Mississippi River is slowed for an extended period of time, the entire US economy suffers, which is what I just said before, with impacts to the global economy and world food supplies. Like the article just stated, 60% of grain that the US ships to other countries relies on the Mississippi River as the main means of transportation. So with the Mississippi River drying up, traffic slows down when it comes to transporting 60% of US grain exports, which means that it'll be a food shortage all around the world or in countries that relies on the US sending them grain. So other countries could be could have a grain shortage and might starve a little bit due to this phenomenon, which is fucked up, by the way. I'll continue reading. As reported by Bloomberg, on October 21st, barge shipments of corn during the first week of October were down 50% from the same time in 2021. Damn. Damn. I'm going to reread this sentence. It says, as reported by Bloomberg, on October 21st, barge shipments of corn during the first week of October were down 50% from the same time in 2021. Which means that because of the Mississippi River drying up, only half the amount of corn was able to ship in comparison to the number of corn that was shipped last year around the same time through the same means of transportation. And so in 2022, only half as much corn was able to be shipped through the Mississippi River in comparison to the amount of corn that was able to be shipped the prior year around the same time. So let's say, for example, let's say I'll just bring up a number. Let's say, hypothetically speaking, if 100 barrels of corn was able to be shipped through the Mississippi River in 2021, in 2022, only 50 barrels of corn was able to be shipped through the Mississippi because of the drought that's happening in the Mississippi River right now. So if this continues, that means that in 2023, only 25 barrels of corn will be able to be shipped through the Mississippi River, which means that company, like I said before, companies would have to pay more money to utilize an alternate means of transportation to transport these products, which means that the price of these products will go even higher so companies can make profit and be able to afford to use alternate means of transporting these products. Yo, that is true. There's no food without water. And in this case, it's harder to transport food without water. Yeah, yeah, yep. What's up, Sheed? What's up? Yeah, we here. So I'll continue reading this article. Uh, Okay. Okay. It says, I'll continue reading this article again. Excuse me, reading this sentence. It says, as reported by Bloomberg on October 21st, barge shipments of corn during the first week of October were down 50% from the same time in 2021. And more than 2,000 barges were backed up. Damn, more than 2,000 barges of corn were backed up. And you know, usually when products are backed up, a lot of times it means that more money is going to be, usually it means because of transportation when things are backed up. And it usually means that that product that's being backed up is now going to cost more money because since it's backed up, companies would have to, like I said before, find an alternate means of transporting these products. But I'll continue reading. The low water levels have also allowed salt water to move upriver to threaten drinking water supplies in New Orleans, forcing the forcing the Army Corps to build an underwater dam to stop the upstream advance of the ocean water. Wow. So it even is this drought is even causing salt water to come to the Mississippi River to threaten the water supply of people living primarily in New Orleans. That's fucked up. I'll continue reading. The ongoing U.S. dryness is even more impressive in its breadth than in its intensity. In the weekly U.S. Drought Monitor Assessment released on October 13th, a total of 81.8% of the contiguous United States was either abnormally dry or in some stage of drought. Wow. Wow. So last week, right? Well, I said on October 13th, 2022, on the U.S. Drought Monitor Assessment, it stated that 81% of the continental United States was abnormally dry or going through drought. But check this out. I'll continue reading. It says this was the largest weekly percentage tallied in the 1,100 plus weeks that have elapsed since the drought monitor began in January 2000. The record was again broken just a week later, on October 20th, when the fraction of the contiguous U.S. at due to D4 levels climbed to 82.2%. At some point in 2022, all 50 states have experienced drought, and only 3 states, Alaska, West Virginia, and Delaware, were not experiencing at least due levels of dryness during the past week. So on October 13th, 81.8% of the United States suffered some level of drought or abnormal dryness. 7 days later, in October 20th, 2022, it increased to 82.2% of the United States suffering some sort of dryness or drought. So when you see the United States getting even drier, what does that mean? That means less water within America's water supply. Hell, I remember years ago, I read an article, and this had to be back in maybe 2015, 2014, where it states that the Great Lakes of the United States were drying up. You know, so even the Great Lakes, according to that article that I read a few years ago, was drying up. Now the Mississippi River is drying up. That's fucked up. But I'll continue reading. None of the specific drought categories, D1, D2, D3, or D4, are at record high coverage levels right now. So it's the sheer geographic spread of dry conditions that's most noteworthy about the current 2022 drought. But the intensity is rising fast. The Drought Severity and Coverage Index, which incorporates both drought strength and drought scope, jumped from 150 in early January to 194 by late October. The highest value on record is 215, recorded on August 14th, 2012. Damn. So this person wrote on Twitter, Joshua Stevens stated the Mississippi River is experiencing low water levels not seen in decades. Levels are dropping to a point where the gauges monitoring, excuse me, levels are dropping to a point where the gauges monitoring them may soon be unable to return reliable data, if any at all. And look at the data, look at the chart, look at the metrics. It's going down as far as the water levels. The water levels, the Mississippi near Memphis, Tennessee, look how it's going down. The Mississippi near New Madrid, Missouri, is going down. I'll continue reading. All-time Mississippi River low water records set in 3 states. 5 Mississippi River gauges with long-term periods of record along the 270-mile stretch of river in 3 states have set all-time low water records this month. In Memphis, Tennessee, the river dipped to a new record low water level of minus 10.81 feet on Saturday, October 22nd. The previous record was minus 10.70 feet, set on July 10th, during the notorious summer of 1988. That year had America's costliest drought since at least 1980, with $51 billion in damages. Data for the Memphis gauge goes back to 1933. Typically, the zero level on the river gauge is set so that the values go negative only during prolonged intense dry spells. So this is the river gauge, right? So according to the river gauge in Memphis, Tennessee, the current water level is below zero. And remember, in 1988, the record, at least in Memphis, was minus 10.70 feet in 1988, and it cost $51 billion in damages for America to fix this situation. But right now, in the same location, the water level is even lower, of minus 10.81 feet. So if the water levels is even lower, which is minus 10.81 feet in Memphis, Tennessee, imagine how much money that has to be spent on just on on repairing all the damages that has been done due to the low water levels in Memphis right now. It's going to be way more than $51 billion that America has to spend to actually repair the damages that has been done due to the new all-time record low levels in Memphis, Tennessee. This is crazy. Oh, really? Oh, really? MOT says plenty low in St. Louis as well. Damn, that's crazy. Degenerate, you gotta watch. Degenerate, you have to watch the beginning of this video. Yeah, if you don't know what's going on, watch the beginning of this video when it's on the playback. I would not be surprised, Ayo. But then again, they need to because they'll be affected by it. Joe W says, let me tell you, I'm feeling the effects of it now. Grain prices have gone through the roof, and it's cost me double to feed my horses, chickens, and other animals compared to previous years. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And unfortunately, Joe W, the prices might get even higher due to this situation. This is fucked up. But let me go back to reading this article. At least three other low water records, excuse me, at least three other low water records have been set along the lower Mississippi north of Memphis. Osceola, Arkansas, minus 11.55 feet on October 19th. Previous record was minus 10.30 feet on July 11th, 1988. Caruthersville, Missouri, minus 1.73 feet on October 18th. Previous record was minus 0.82 feet in 2012. New Madrid, Missouri, minus 5.45 feet on October 15th. And a noteworthy record has also been set south of Memphis, Greenville, Mississippi, 5.51 feet on October 23rd. I'll continue reading this. Hurricane Rosalind's remnants will bring some short-term drought relief. One reason for the extent of U.S. dryness in recent months is the lack of landfalling tropical cyclones. Apart from catastrophic Hurricane Ian, whose range were limited mainly to Florida and other eastern seaboard states. Perhaps it's not surprising that a hurricane, in this case from the Pacific, will help ease the pain of drought across the south central United States. Let me stop right here. It's funny that when it comes to natural disasters like a hurricane, it's both bad and good. It's bad because a hurricane, especially a hurricane that is above a category 3, is powerful enough to cause a lot of damages to the location that it hits. But at the same time, it's needed. A hurricane is needed because it brings necessary moisture and rain and water to fill up rivers. So because this year there was not enough there was not enough hurricanes this year to actually fill up the Mississippi River or to actually ease the dryness of the United States, which is why the US is so dry. What has been so dry this year. So, but this hurricane called Hurricane Rosalind, which is going to affect the Pacific side of this continent, is going to help, like I said before, to help bring some more water to the Mississippi River. But experts say it's only going to happen, it's only going to be a short-term relief. It's not going to heal the Mississippi River for the long term. But I'll continue reading. Hurricane Rosalind, which rapidly intensified to Category 4 strength, slammed into the Pacific coast of Mexico near Santa Cruz, north of Puerto Vallarta, on Sunday morning as a Category 3 storm. Yeah, excuse me. With top sustained winds of 120 miles per hour, Rosalind quickly dissipated on Sunday, but its remnants are being swept into the central United States by an approaching upper level storm. As moisture from Rosalind interacts with the upper storm and an associated cold front, showers and thunderstorms will douse the southern and central plains from Texas to Illinois, especially on Monday and Tuesday. Widespread totals of 1 to 3 inches will help quench the soil and recharge rivers, and localized totals could reach 5 inches. Some severe weather, including a few tornadoes, will be possible, especially on Monday night. Once again, like I said, the irony when it comes to natural disasters, even tornadoes, which there's a good and a bad when it comes to these things, like such as tornadoes and hurricanes, because these things cause a lot of damages to the areas. They cause death, they cause properties to be destroyed, and it most likely cause people to have to start their lives over again by moving to a new home. But at the same time, the irony is that these things are needed in order to decrease the dryness in the area and bring more water to rivers. So, so it's sort of like a good and bad, or like sort of like a good and bad when it comes to natural disasters. Yeah, exactly, Joe. Exactly, Joe. Joe said because all the major hurricanes this year have basically hit the East Coast and the Florida side of the Gulf Coast. We haven't had a good hurricane here in Alabama, Mississippi, or Louisiana at all. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Yeah, yeah, Toya. What's up, Toya? What's up with you, by the way? Yes. She said none here in Texas either. Wow. Yeah, yeah. The Mississippi River is drying up. Let me see. Okay. I'll continue reading this article. Much of the heaviest rain from Roslyn's moisture will fall across the Arkansas River basin, which flows into the Mississippi south of Memphis. So the benefits to river flow will be more limited further to the north. An experimental forecast product that calculates flow through the lower Mississippi and Ohio rivers over the next 28 days, based on 16-day modeled rainfall, suggests that the low flow crisis may have already hit bottom when averaged across the region. The product shows some renewed decline next week after a bump from Roslyn's moisture, then followed by gradual improvement into early November. Long-term forecast dry. The longer-term outlook remains worrisome for U.S. drought into the winter of the 2022-2023. Excuse me. I'll reread that. It says the longer-term outlook remains worrisome for U.S. drought into the winter of 2022 to 2023. as an unusual third-year La Nina event, the first such sequence since 1998 to 2001, is now in place and expected to continue for at least the next several months. The NOAA's latest seasonal drought outlook, issued on October 20th, calls for drought conditions to either persist or expand across most of the western and southern three quarters of the U.S. from now through January. Mm, wow. So because of this La Nina that's coming in the wintertime, experts predict that it's going to be even more dryness for a large part of the central and southern U.S. Which, once again, like I said before in this video, to me that's kind of strange because usually when there's a La Nina phenomenon, the wintertime gets colder and it gets more wet, usually, right? So I don't really understand, unless if I'm wrong about that. Unless if I'm wrong about La Nina. But based on my research on La Nina, that's what it states. So to me, I'm just confused on how can a phenomenon that can cause colder and wetter winters can actually turn into a higher amount of dryness. I know that in the wintertime, the winter, that's when the area is at its most dryness, is at its driest because wintertime is usually very dry. But once again, based on what I've researched about La Nina, wintertime is usually colder and wetter than average. But uh, that's the part that I'm confused about. Unless if any one of you guys in the comment section can correct me about La Nina. Yeah, yeah, Toya. Toya says, I remember learning about how that river was so important to so many industries and communities along it. And now we're contending with its extinction. Yeah, heck, the Mississippi River is important to even multiple countries because that's the main use of transportation when it comes to the U.S. exporting 60% of a lot of its grain export. 60% of the U.S.'s grain export is relying on the Mississippi River for it to export out of the country. Therefore, that can cause other countries to have food shortages. Countries that are reliant on U.S. agricultural products can suffer food shortages, which is fucked up. But I'll continue reading. Oh, okay, Lawrence Rotano, what's up with you? He says it may be because La Nina is colder water, and cold water evaporates slower. Oh, okay. Okay. Let me continue reading this article, right? All right. It says global trade increasingly vulnerable to extreme weather affecting key checkpoints or choke points. It says choke points. Uh, I believe this person made a typo and really means checkpoints, but I'll continue reading. This is the second consecutive year that barge traffic on the Mississippi River has been seriously affected by by extreme weather. In August 2021, Category 4 Hurricane Ida passed directly over the port of South Louisiana, the world's largest bulk cargo port, essentially halting barge traffic on the river for multiple weeks. Both this year's drought and last year's hurricane were more likely to have been so intense because of climate change. And as discussed here in March 2021, the shutdown of the Suez Canal in 2021 by the grounding of the bulk cargo ship, the Ever Given, could have been a climate change related event. These events serve as a warning that climate change can be expected to cause an increase in extreme events that will impact critical global trade choke points. As explained in a 2017 report from Chatham House, much of the food required to feed 2.8 billion people passes through 14 critical shipping choke points, maritime corridors such as straits and canals, coastal infrastructure in major crop exporting regions, and inland transport infrastructure in major crop exporting regions. These choke points are at risk of closure brought by three factors. Now, before I continue, before I read this, I never knew the Suez Canal, the Suez Canal was shut down. If those of you know about the Suez Canal, right? The Suez Canal is it's a small canal or small body of water between the country of Israel and Egypt. Between Israel and Egypt was a man-made canal called the Suez Canal that was created, I think in the 1960s or 70s, something like that. Yeah. But before reading this, I never knew that the Suez Canal got shut down in 2021. And according to this article, it says due to climate change. But I'll continue reading. It says these choke points are at risk of closure brought by about three factors: extreme weather events or sea level rise, security and conflict hazards from war, political instability, piracy, organized crime, and on terrorism. Decisions by authorities to close a choke point or restrict the passage of food, for example, by exposing export controls. Damn, that's fucked up. Yeah, a lot of these rivers and canals are critical when it comes to trade. When it comes to shipping and importing goods from all around the world, just like the Mississippi River is very important for trade. 13 of the 14 critical choke points have had a closure or interruption in transit at least once between 2002 and 2017, with the Strait of Gibraltar the only exception. Many of these events had potential climate change connections. For example, the 2011 and 2012 heat waves in the US that led to multiple derailments of trains were railroad tracks warped in excessive heat. Right. The report explained climate change is increasing the threat of disruption by acting as a hazard multiplier across all three categories of choke point risk. It will increase the frequency and severity of extreme weather, leading to more regular closures of choke points and greater wear and tear on infrastructure. Rising sea levels will threaten the integrity of port operations and coastal storage infrastructure and will increase their vulnerability to storm surges. Climate change is expected to aggravate drivers of conflict and instability. It will also lead to more frequent harvest failures, increasing the risk of governments imposing ad hoc export controls. Woo! Climate change will more frequently cause disruptions to critical global trade choke points in incoming years. We need to take strong actions to prevent further damage. By reducing emissions of greenhouse gases, we must also prepare for future climate change boosted extreme weather events by reducing vulnerabilities to choke point disruptions. And this is what climate change does, man. What's up, Third Ward? Yeah, 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 Joe W. What up, Third Ward? Yeah, it is unfortunate. Yeah, it is unfortunate. Third Ward, I know you live in Houston, so you live closer to the Mississippi than I do. So maybe you got some more info on this topic. But that's messed up, man. What's up, Tonio? Tonio, what's going on, man? Yeah. But this is unfortunate because this could have, so if more rivers and canals or drying up and or shutting down, that could have a tremendous negative effect on trade, which means that a lot of countries who are reliant on the import and the export of goods will be, I'll say in a very simple way, where people can understand, fucked up. A lot of countries can starve. A lot of jobs can be lost as a result of that. And this is a lot due to climate change. And climate change is real. You know, you have a lot of people who are walking around, especially a lot of fake conservatives walking around talking about climate change is only a myth. There's no such thing as climate change. Then, hey, how do you explain this? How do you explain that? How do you explain that if climate change is not real? So, man, it is getting rough out here, man. It's getting rough out here. Man, yeah. I mean, Tonio says, hopefully this winter there is some snowfall and water to fill up the river. I'm trying to get into the maritime industry. Doesn't seem like a good time with rivers drying up around the world. You know, hopefully, something will do. You know, hopefully something will do. Antonio also says, I'm over in Houston. I used to live and am from Louisiana. The low river levels could be because of the lock systems holding the water upriver. Oh, really? Oh, well, maybe. But according to this article is stating that across three states, the Mississippi River is at its all-time low when it comes to water levels, mainly because of dryness across the continental United States. But I'm not saying you're wrong, Tonio. That could be another factor of what you're saying, Tonio. That could be another factor. Who knows? Oh, damn. Really, Lawrence? Lawrence says, I live in Montana and the droughts here seem to be getting worse. Really? Damn, that's fucked up. But man, we got to prepare ourselves, man. We got to prepare ourselves because when it comes to this situation, the future is not looking pretty bright. And I'm not trying to be pessimistic, but the reality is, based on this article, the future is not looking that good. So these are some things that we need to focus on and concentrate our minds on instead of worrying about some rapper with bipolar disorder losing money. You know what I'm saying? I mean, but at the same time, peace to Kanye West because even though I don't think he's a genius, even though I think he's an idiot in some way, but I don't think that the statements that he made was anti-Semitic. But anyhow, that's another topic. Tonio says, yes, there is a drought. Many MUDs, municipal utility districts, are in stage one of response to the drought. Yeah, damn. Wow. Yeah, man. It's crazy. Oh, word? Oh, I thought that he said there's a passport inflation. Prices are now $165 for a new passport, $65 to expedite it, $135 for former passport holders. But Antonio, I think that was the same price I paid when I renewed my passport back in 2017. I think because I was always a passport holder in 2017. I had to renew my passport. I think I only paid $135 to renew my passport, like about 5 years ago. Yeah. Oh wow. But if there is a passport inflation, then shit. What SYSBM? Well, you got to pay up. Yeah. What up, Keep It Techie? Keep It Techie says they didn't they didn't get much rain up north this year. The river is lower than it's ever been. Yeah. Keep It Techie says I'm from Baton Rouge and it's crazy low down there. I talked to my parents about it yesterday. Yeah, man, it's crazy. It's insane. Yeah, it's insane with the low water levels in the Mississippi River. Man, well, let's see what happens. Let's see what happens because, like I said, that's going to cause that can cause even more inflation, especially um on food products, especially food or or any type of raw materials that was reliant upon the Mississippi River in order for these products to transport all around the world. So get ready to even spend more money on corn, rice, wheat, bread, etc., etc. Damn. And it's already a pain in the neck how much money I'm spending on groceries. You see how, do you guys see how expensive groceries is becoming now? It's like, damn, I would remember buying the same shit a few years ago and paying way less money than I'm paying now. Damn, that's crazy. Yeah, man. Stay prayed up. Stay prayed up. This is going to be a rough winter, man. I'm not trying to be, or I'm not trying to promote some apocalyptic situation this winter because you don't know when it's going to be an apocalypse. But based on what I've read to you guys in this article, uh, you know, weather-wise, things are not going to get any better anytime soon. But anyhow, I didn't mean to bring this doom and gloom situation to you guys. I just wanted to be informative. But thank you for you guys showing up. Shout out to you guys because I'm about to bounce. No Toy the Tutor or Toy the Texan. Shout out to you, Joe W, Lawrence Furtado, Tonio, Keep It Techie. Thank you guys for coming on. Third War Colombian. Thank you for coming on. The Antisocial Socialite Podcast. Thank you for coming on. Man of Tomorrow. Degenerate Sharingan. AO. Kevin Kelly. Sheet is here. Tampa Supreme. Sigma American Arcana. Thanks for coming on. Shout outs to you guys. But I hope that this video was informative to you guys. Thank you for showing up. And shout out to everybody that's either watching on the replay or cloud watching. Peace.